evening. It's 5 o'clock, so we're ready to get started. Hope y'all had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Follow the meeting order. We do have a quorum. At this time, I'll ask Councilmember Josh Stevenson if he'll lead us in a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
From your prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, that we could be here today to go about the business of the city of Sherman. Please help us to make our decisions in a wise and equitable manner. Please be with our first responders as they go throughout this week, protecting all of us. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right. The council, did y'all have the opportunity to review the minutes of the regular city council meeting of August 16, 2021?
Motion to approve the minutes of August 16, 2021. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. At this time, we have a special presentation. I'm going to ask Lisa Patton, President of the Texas Court Clerks Association, to come forward.
Hi, good evening. This is Jennifer Bezornia, and she is the president of the North Texas chapter, and she's going to do the presentation.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. It is my privilege to be here today, as Lisa mentioned. My name is Jennifer Bezornia. I'm the Vice President of the Texas Clerks Association, and it has been a privilege to visit your beautiful city on this important day to honor Yolanda Cabal. Is Yolanda here? Have Yolanda come up? So I can say all these nice things. It's right here. We're here tonight to announce that approximately 3,000 court clerks are in the state of Texas, and you now have one of only 125 certified municipal court clerks working for you and the citizens of Sherman. To qualify for the title of a certified municipal court clerk, a clerk must complete the requirements for Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 certification. These requirements include completing 40 hours of continuing education and passing a 4-hour exam at each level. Additionally, a clerk must attend a 24-hour assessment clinic, complete 40 hours of court observation, submit a journal of those observations, and attend a 12-hour court administrator seminar. Yolanda's involvement in this rigorous course of study confirms her dedication to the judicial system and to the city of Sherman. On behalf of the Texas Court Clerks Association and in conjunction with the Texas Municipal Courts Education Center, it is my privilege to present to Ms. Yolanda Cabal her Certified Municipal Court Clerk Certificate and plaque. Congratulations.
Nice.
We're going to grab a few pictures.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mary's trying to get a picture. Thank you. If you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Yolanda. What a great honor. A lot of hard work into that.
See a proud son out there.
All right. At this time, we'll recognize Eddie Brown. Eddie, come on up. Recognition of a small business celebrating 1 year of operation in the city.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you, Mayor, and council and staff. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Wall Street Winery, who's been in business now celebrating a complete year with us here in Sherman. And we'll make sure to get the certificate of recognition that you provided here to them this week. From the mayor and the council members, want to congratulate the Wall Street Winery on your first anniversary. The city of Sherman, Texas would like to express our appreciation for choosing Sherman as a place to start and grow your business. Your achievement is an inspiration, and we wish you you many more success in the years ahead, many successes. a great small business, and we're happy to have them in downtown Sherman. So thank you very much to all of you.
All right, thank you, Eddie. We're to citizens' comments, and I think Abby's here with Children's Advocacy Center. Come on up, Abby.
I'm real short, so. We just wanted to take a moment from the Children's Advocacy Center to thank everybody in the city for the community block grant. COVID has hit nonprofits and hit everybody hard in the last year, and we're no exception to that. And the funds that we were able to receive this year from the city really did make sure that amidst all of this chaos, amidst the increasing severity of child abuse, we were able to continue providing every service needed for every kid in our community who deals with abuse. So you guys have been a huge part in keeping our numbers that unfortunately have continued to grow even during COVID and really keep all of those kids getting what they need to fill some major gaps for us this year. So we wanted to take a moment and express our gratitude for that. So thank you all very much.
Thank y'all.
All right, is there anyone here to address the council on any item of the agenda? Okay. If not, we'll go to the consent agenda. These items are to be considered routine and will be enacted upon motion without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item to be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda includes items G4, G5, G6, and I2. Would anyone like to be separated for any reason? If not, can we get a motion on consent?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Excuse me,
No,
sir.
please.
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda to be approved.
Second. Okay, motion, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, consent agenda approved. Okay, we got the double asterisk consent agenda. These are the items that are considered routine, subject to the staff review letter without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. These items to be approved, subject to staff review letter, include items I3, I4, I5, I6, and I7. Would anyone like to be separated for any reason?
Mayor, I would like to remove I6 for discussion, please.
Okay, very good. We'll discuss I6 separately. Anybody else? Okay, can we get a...
I move to approve all the items on total consent agenda.
Second.
Okay.
Except,
Can I ask, is that subject to the staff review?
With the exception of I6.
Okay.
And subject to the staff review. Anything else? And a partridge in
Okay.
a
who's
Everybody's motion has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We'll read I6 for us.
Final plat approval of Cornerstone Addition being 0.238 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763, Holly Jolly Homes LLC owner and Underwood Drafting Copley Land Surveying Surveyor, 537 East Brockett and 536 East Carter Streets.
Okay. Thank you. Rob, can you tell us about this?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, this item is for final plat approval for two residential properties, two residential lots on both Carter Street and Brockett Street. The side street on here is Broughton Street. Both the driveways are expected to be facing each of the streets to the north and the south. At the last P&Z meeting, exceptions were granted for lot width and lot size by the Board of Adjustments. This was a consent agenda item for P&Z, so it was approved unanimously.
Okay. Council, any questions on this item?
yes. I want to know, you said expected to be. The driveways are expected to be. So can we not be sure of where the driveways are going to be ahead of time?
The applicant has given engineering site plan of how the homes will be configured, as well as the driveways that we've approved those locations.
So the wording should not be expected to be, right? I mean, can we not make clear that it's not going to come out on a busy street?
Well, we've told them we don't want them on the side street, so it's a matter of not granting them a permit on the side street.
after we plat, they've got to come back.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
want
they have to permit the driveway, and like I said, we've agreed with them on where the driveways will go, where they will not go. So we won't be permitting them on the side street.
Okay, and if they go where they're expected to go, we're safe as far as traffic flow and?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the one of them is supposed to have the driveway that will exit onto Brockett, correct? Am I correct on that? I can't get my iPad to open up the picture closer,
Yes.
so I'm trying to.
You'll have a driveway right here for
Okay,
this lot.
All right.
And then the driveway will be here.
for
Carter, right.
Okay,
Right.
So there will be no driveways on Broughton.
Okay.
Where we're doing the additional.
but we're just now widening Broughton, okay?
Mhm.
And I have seen the work that the city crews are doing, but that is so close to that corner. Is that gonna cause a complication with now that we have widened Broughton, you know?
No.
Do you see that as a problem? Because
No.
I obviously have not walked it or
We did the
anything.
design
Yeah.
of Broughton in-house and made sure that his site plan matched our proposed street locations. And part of this plat also includes some additional right-of-way on Carter.
Yeah, I read that.
That he willingly gave to us to help with
And then we'll have no parking, right, from guests or anyone else on the
Correct.
street. There's a no parking sign?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was approved by ordinance.
Correct. And we will enforce that. Correct.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Okay, can we get a motion on this item?
Move to approve, I say.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right, we will open the public hearing. Linda, if you will read D1 for us, please.
Ordinance 6408, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman renewing the designation of Residential Reinvestment Zone Number 10, City of Sherman, Texas, for the purpose of residential tax abatement, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Ed?
This ordinance just renews our existing residential tax abatement zone. As you know, we give tax abatements to qualifying residential structures in the target area. The law requires that we renew the zone every 5 years.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? No? Linda, if you'll read D2 for us, please.
Ordinance 6409, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos Cities Steering Committee, ACSC, and Atmos Energy Corporation Mid-Tex Division regarding the company's 2021 rate review mechanism filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with a negotiated settlement, finding the rates to be set by the attached settlement tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest, approving an attached exhibit establishing a benchmark for pensions and retiree medical benefits, approving an attached exhibit regarding amortization of regulatory liability, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses, providing for repealer, providing for severability, declaring an effective date, requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the ACSC's legal counsel, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Brian?
Yes, sir. Item E2 is an item that would approve a negotiated settlement between the Atmos City Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Group, the corporation, related to its 2021 rate change case. As the city has done in years past, it is a member of the steering committee that helps to negotiate a lower rate adjustment than what Atmos would otherwise be allowed to get approved through a rate-making process at the state level. Ultimately, if the council were to approve this negotiated settlement, that would mean an additional increase of $1.28 for your average residential Atmos customer, which represents about a 2.2% increase. Again, that rate would be higher had we not gone through the negotiated settlement process. Also represents a $4.03 increase or 1.61% increase on the average commercial customer's Atmos bill. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. This is in line with what has been done in years past.
Thank you, Ron. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Staff. I'm Rick Call. This is not probably very long. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am the legal Adams representative in your territory. If you don't have any questions, I just am happy to be in your community. Otherwise,
Okay. We'll ask in just a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Linda, if you're ready, read for us, please.
Ordinance 6410, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman repealing ordinance numbers 6232 and 6319 and amending section 6.12, ordinance number 2280, so as to amend a planned development for Bel Air Village, ordinance number 6319, formerly known as Terra Perpetua Village, ordinance number 6232, in the 300 to 1,000 blocks of East FM 1417 Vietnam Veterans Parkway, being 278.313 acres in the Sherrod Dunham Survey, abstract number 329, Terra Perpetua LLC owners and Kimley Horn and Associates Surveyor, Civil Engineering, providing that this planned development shall be granted subject to certain conditions, describing the tract to be rezoned, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, this ordinance is to amend the Bel Air Village PD to reflect a change requested by the developer. For single-family development, the current standard for front yard setback, if there is a garage, is 25 feet. The developer is requesting to modify that setback to 20 feet. In the graphic on the screen, the top table is what's currently in the Bel Air Village PD. 25 feet is the setback for a garage door. What's being recommended is the 20 feet, the table on the bottom where it says 20 feet garage door. P&Z voted to recommend approval 5-0 at the last meeting.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. Michael Carlisle with Kimley Horn, 260 East Davis Street, McKinney, Texas. I'm a civil engineer on the project and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Linda, if you're ready for us, please.
Ordinance 6411, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, ordinance number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R1 one-family residential district located at 810 East Mulberry Street, being lots 19 and 20, Block 14, Chafin's First Edition, Tobar Properties LLC owner, Preston Trail Land Surveying Surveyor, and NBS Drafting and Design Draftsman, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, this item is for a zone change. The developer would like to build a single-family home on this lot and is currently zoned M2 heavy manufacturing. The request was recommended for approval by Planning and Zoning 5-0.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening?
Ordinance 6412, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a Hampton Inn and Suites Hotel in a C1 Retail Business District 01, 75, and 82 Overlay District at 305 Cornerstone Drive, being lots 8, 9, and 10, Block 2, Cornerstone Addition. P&N Sherman LLC owner, Hampton Inn and Suites Hotel proposed tenant, ADR Designs LLC architect, and Preston Trail Land Surveying Surveyor, providing that this specific use permit shall be granted subject to certain conditions, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, this item is for a specific use permit to allow a hotel in a C1 district. This Hampton Inn requested also an exception for the height, the building of the height, 4 stories, 54.4 feet high, which is above our minimum requirements in a C1 district. Planning and Zoning approved the specific use permit 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Linda, if you'll read E6 for us, please.
Ordinance 6413, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Sherman, Texas, entitled Subdivision Ordinance, Article 10.05, entitled Subdivision Ordinance, at Exhibit A, entitled Subdivision Ordinance, and Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Sherman, Texas, entitled Zoning Ordinance, Article 14.02, entitled Airport Hazard Zoning, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances, modifying certain regulations relating to the airport hazard zoning for the Sherman Municipal Airport, to prevent the creation or an airport hazard by specifying the land uses permitted, regulating the type of structures, and restricting the height of structures and objects of natural growth, to prevent the creation of an obstruction to flight operations or air navigation, providing a repealings clause, a severability clause, and a penalty clause, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Robert?
This ordinance is to update Chapter 10, the subdivision ordinance, and Chapter 14, the zoning ordinance, regarding our airport hazard zoning ordinance. This was last updated in 1995, our airport hazard zoning ordinance. The update to the airport hazard zoning ordinance would bring our standards and regulations up to date and make them consistent with both state and federal regulations. This ordinance would only apply to the Sherman Municipal Airport and not to the North Texas Regional Airport, and formerly known as Parana Air Force Base. On the screen here is a map of the area that would regulate the airspace requirements for zoning. It covers a large portion of the city of Sherman. The standards and the height regulations vary depending on the proximity to the airport. So those elements of height and zoning would all be determined in the plat process and during the zoning approval. Planning and zoning, this was presented to Planning and Zoning Committee on July 20th. They approved or recommended the ordinance for approval 6-0.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? If not, we'll close public hearing and consider the adoption of ordinances. Council. Discussion.
I have a question about 6410. So Michael Carlisle with Kennel, come on.
I hope we have the same question.
So everything in this plan development agreement was subject to both parties agreeing. Both parties agreed, and now in short order you're back asking for a change. Is there a reason for this change other than you want it?
So the reason to do this change is industry standard for a front yard setback for residential is 20 feet. And so what that is, it allows you with your vehicle to be from the right-of-way line, from the sidewalk, which is the edge of the right-of-way line, to your garage. 20 feet is where your garage would start. But if you increase that another 5 feet, you get this wasted space behind your vehicle. And so the idea here is to take that space and give you a bigger backyard essentially.
I disagree with it being wasted space. If we're having a nice little area where the people are to walk and such.
Well, I guess everything on here under adopted Bel Air PD was a negotiated agreement. How come it wasn't negotiated when we did the agreement?
Yeah.
So asking for an exception after negotiating. I guess the syntax is my question.
So this also derived from the home builders in the market. So at the time, it was, I'm sure it was talked to several home builders, but now these home builders seriously looking to buy these lots, this is where the request is derived from.
Okay. Just 20 feet sort of industry standard across the nation, and how?
Yes, it's fairly standard to have that 20-foot front yard setback.
But just to be clear, we're not making the lots any smaller. We're just moving that 5 feet from the front yard to the backyard.
Correct.
If you knew that it was standard when we did this contract, why didn't it come up at that time.
That's a fair point. I think just a little bit of flexibility on these plan development documents. It is agreement, and it's a little bit of back and forth once you come to market, see what the market appetite is for that product. So just trying to get the best product available.
As long as the lot sizes, the lot lengths are remaining the same and we're just moving the setback 5 feet, I'm not wanting to give up 5 feet of lot length, but.
Do you anticipate coming back and asking for any other changes? Have you heard of anything else that maybe now?
That is standard that you should have asked?
That's a difficult question to answer. Just, I guess, a little bit of the unknown at this time is because.
I know as it's being turned over to the builders, as they're stepping in, I'm just wondering if there's anything else that might come up.
And I do think that since this is our first groundbreaking of a plan development, we're kind of in that testing phase to see how it's going to go. That's possible that a developer or an applicant may want to make changes to the document. The city and the developer have the ability to request those amendments of the PDs that have been adopted.
Well, I just would like to make sure, and this is just my own personal feeling, that I know they're going to have different builders, but I would like there to be consistency. That if everybody's going to have 20 feet, then the house is going to look different, obvious, but let's have consistency in the lot, all the same lot sizes, as they're set, and, within reason.
So, I guess it's good information for us as we go into future PD agreements to know that home builders prefer 20-foot setbacks instead of 25. So.
We have those others that are in the same area though. This is just the first, so that the rest of them will be 25? Is that?
It'd be for the whole
plan development. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, that's what I was checking. The whole plan development will be 20. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't just for phase one, this is going to be a plan development.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question on ordinance 6408 also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary, I just noticed that the value amount on the, I guess not, the residential is 100,000 now?
Yes, that's interesting you asked that. We were discussing that today and updating that amount. So, yes, this just designates the zone. The 100,000 is really attached to the program itself, which is a separate document that we adopt. But that will not affect the zone adoption.
Okay.
But we can change the program as needed. Now, we're required to change it or to approve it every 2 years. We just approved it, I think, back in April or May.
Yeah.
But yes, that is something we're looking at.
Mary, can you remind me where TERS 10 is?
I'm sorry?
Can you remind me where TERS 10 is?
That is what we call the residential reinvestment zone.
Yeah.
And it's defined by qualified census tracts identified by HUD. It's what they give us to help us determine the low mod area of the city, low to moderate income area of the city. We do have a map.
Yes.
Okay.
And we get that information out to the citizens?
Yeah, it's posted on our website and it's updated every 2 years, I believe.
Could we also put something on Facebook or something to get that out there to our
I'll get that
citizens?
tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, council?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve 6408, 6409, 6410, 6411, 6412, and 6413 as written.
Okay, I'll second it.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, council. All right, we're to F1, receive presentation from Police Chief Zachary Flores on updates to the animal control operations. Good evening, Chief.
Oh, nice.
Council, Mayor. I don't even know how that got up there.
I love the dog.
I don't know if Oscar.
I don't know who put that together, but I think it was good.
I bet you do.
I appreciate your time. So I wanted to talk about some of the different issues here with you. Again, we took over animal services. Police department took over responsibility for animal services beginning this fiscal year. And so there were a number of things that led to that. And so initially we started off doing a needs assessment and going through the different aspects of the shelter and the operations. And it's really just peeled back several different issues that we tried to take one by one as they come along. And we've really been able to do that for the most part. However, as I met with city manager, we feel like we really have a good grasp on it at this point. We feel like we really do understand the issues that have faced the shelter and kind of some fixes that were put in place along the way. And now it's like I've told my staff the entire time, we're not coming in to fit into the animal shelter or the animal services organization. They're going to fit into ours. And so we think that we've got a pretty good template. And so as we've gone about that, we've noticed several different issues. So I wanted to go over some of those tonight and hopefully get some direction towards some things. So one of the first things that we did was we got with our Animal Services Advisory Committee, which is something that's statutorily mandated by the state, along with some other issues for us to be able to continue to be really rabies control authority, which is one of our main duties as the city's animal services. So one of the things that we were asked to do is to go through the city ordinance, and in doing that and having worked on different ordinances and worked with y'all on different ordinances, we decided to really essentially repeal and replace the ordinance. It was dated and pieced together. So there were different pieces that were adopted in 2013, 1991, 2016, and it just was a conglomerate of several different issues that just got pieced together. So we want to take it as an opportunity to really implement some best practices in city ordinance as far as animals are related. So we took it from the city of Irving, and we put in animal services input. And these are just some of the substantial changes that we've got, really updating the definitions. And then something that was recommended to us from some of the humane organizations that is a little different than most other municipalities is removing the need to register animals. The reality is it's very tough to police, very tough to enforce, and that's not necessarily the spirit of what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that animals are vaccinated, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a registration. We can still regulate the vaccination. So that's what we're wanting to do. We don't want to over police our animal population in Sherman, right, or animal owners. Also moving the fee schedule to city management. The fee schedule was baked into the city ordinance, and there were times that animal services would try to do things to help promote adoptions. And given the way that the ordinance was built, it's not something that I was necessarily comfortable with us just making a decision on, because it was built into the ordinance. This gives the flexibility to go to city management, and if we see that we need an issue taken care of, we can go to city management at any point, and we have the flexibility to do that, and we can do some promotional things and try to get things like that done. Also, we currently don't have anything for invisible or underground fences. We know that oftentimes animals will be quick to get out of them, but they don't want to go back in them. So this addresses that issue, as well as the retail sale of animals. We do currently have one business that has opened up that centers around puppies, and so that has several pitfalls in it, and we want to make sure that we can regulate that as best as possible. If this was done appropriately by people in the first place, animal services wouldn't have anything to do. So we understand that there are issues inherent with it, and it allows for permission to be obtained, but it allows us to regulate that. As well as providing us the authority to enforce these ordinances within 5,000 feet of the city. If you live in the city and you're adjacent to the county, that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't enjoy some of the benefits that are inherently tied to the ordinances that we have them. We don't just have them so that we can enforce things on people. We have them so that we can help improve quality of life for our citizens, and we want to make sure that we can do that. I want to thank Ryan
for working on this with us. We think we've got something that's good. It is substantial, but we believe it's something that after training our folks up on, we're going to be able to go and hopefully make a better impact on our community. And so we look to bring that to you for adoption at the next council meeting, but I wanted to give you this because it is a very lengthy document, give you kind of some of the high points and some of the things to look at. Any questions over the ordinance? All right, we'll bring that back next time. Contracts with outside agencies. So after this presentation, the next thing on the agenda is a contract with the county for animal services. We're the only shelter in the county. Denison takes their animals to a vet or to a rescue group. That rescue group, the Denison Animal Welfare Group, they help us out a ton. And so we're very, very grateful for them. And they're one of the reasons that we've been able to successfully reduce our population a great degree here in the very near past. Historically, we've been charging $50 per animal to, we call it the county, but moving forward, other municipalities or entities that look to use the shelter, we're going to look to enforce the same contract with them, regardless of whatever governing agency they are. And so we've also had a stipulation in there for $12 a day after 3 days. That was never enforced. So moving forward, that's something that we look to be able to enforce. We asked for a 3% increase to the fees this year. That's not a huge increase given that this has substantially been the rate for, I think, as long as most staff can remember. And then I also moved it from a 2-year contract to a 1-year contract. So these last 2 bullet points really feed into some of the layer issues that we'll talk about. I wanted to present this contract really as a bridge to get us to something different. And so I'll go into that with you here in future, or here in the next slides. But bear in mind these issues of the contracts. It's population management at the shelter. This is one of the actual issues that we have. We have been identified as a no-kill shelter. And most people would say we recognize the City of Sherman Animal Shelter as a no-kill shelter. However, in the municipal animal services industry, that is synonymous with a 90% live release rate. Now, live release rate is the terminology that we're really pushing towards our employees. Because what we recognize is that we don't have the luxury of refusing animals. We have to quarantine, we have to take in animals, we have to do really the duties that are set forth to us. And so we can't tell somebody that because an animal is extremely sick or overly aggressive, that we're not going to take it in. For the most part, those are the animals that we take in. So industry standard is that there's a recognition that there's going to be about 10% of those animals that are not adoptable. And when an animal comes into the shelter, there's only a few outcomes that it's going to have. It's going to get returned to the owner, it's going to go to a rescue group, it's going to get adopted, or it's going to be euthanized. So there's a recognition that there's going to be about a 10% euthanasia rate in any shelter that is municipally ran, because you don't have the luxury of refusing those animals. So there's criteria to it, though. We definitely want to make sure of that. It's been no secret, it's been in the media that we've reached upwards of 100, 200% of our capacity. As soon as a shelter does that, it can't provide the capacity for care for the animals that it needs to. Right? The animals start to double up in pens. They don't have the essential 5 freedoms that humane authorities have identified to allow them to freely move and express themselves, behave the way that the animals should. And then they're in kennels for extended periods of the day. What is that for us? We can house 20 stray or quarantine animals and house 20 adoptable animals at a time. Those are for dogs. We've been upwards of 100 at times. So that means there's 2, 3, 4 in a kennel. And that is not providing humane care to those animals. Not to mention, we're bringing in about 40 animals every week and only adopting out 21. So simply by the numbers, we would drown, right? We recognized here, once we started paying attention to the numbers, that it was telling a story, but historically that had not, the pencil hadn't been put to the paper and the statistics hadn't been looked at. And it was a presumption that things were going well or they were just going, and the presumption that it was a no-kill shelter. And I can promise you that our staff was doing everything they could because they were under the same presumption. Everything they could. And then we continued to exacerbate the problem by spending more money on ill animals, bringing them back into the shelter, and then not getting adopted. So before I get into the spay-neuter, if you'll recall, we have contracts with outside agencies, and we're the only shelter in the county. So right now, 23.77%, almost 25% of the animals that come into our shelter are from somewhere else, not Sherman. But the county contract, on average, for the last 3 years, has paid 3% of the shelter. So we're taking in 25% of these animals, and they're funding 3% of what we're able to do. So that means that the taxpayers of Sherman are shouldering a heavy burden as far as animal services go for the entire county. That leads to spays and neuters. So we have a vet that comes into the shelter every Wednesday for spays and neuters that day. On average, he can do 20 a week. We're bringing in 40. So he can do about half the animals that come in. That being done week after week after week after week, but still needing to create room in the shelter has caused us to have a backlog of animals that are in foster care at their forever homes, but they can't legally be adopted out because by law we have to have the spay and neuter before we can do that. So we have a very large backlog. TCAP and Vet Relief have been helping us out. Lieutenant Jennifer has been supervising, overseeing, not necessarily supervising, but overseeing the animal shelter. And I think here, probably either this week or next week, we're going to have both of those entities combined doing over 100 surgeries for us to help get caught up. And we're grateful for that nonprofit help. However, that's not a sustainable business practice. So what do we need to do to get to where we need to be? Well, that is dependent upon the appetite that the council has. So things that we see could benefit us to be able to operate the shelter more efficiently and effectively would be to have an admin assistant. So right now, because of the number of animals that come in, the number of animals that we have, we're not able to accurately and timely keep up with animals coming in or going out. I don't know if any of you have called the shelter. It's very tough to get a hold of somebody. It's very loud, number one. So we implemented a phone tree that can go to dispatch. However, at the end of the day, you still need to speak with somebody.
Absolutely.
And whether a citizen is calling the shelter or a dispatcher is calling the shelter, doesn't really make a difference. But we do want to make sure that we can get a citizen on the phone with somebody.
Yep.
So we have that going to dispatch right now. But if any of y'all have ever been in our dispatch center, it's probably not the best practice. But that's where we're at. My admin assistant is going out there twice a week. So she's a team player.
She's doing a fine job too.
Erin's doing awesome. So we appreciate that. Also, registered vet tech. So I told you a while ago that the vet who comes in once a week to do the surgeries, we met with him. He said he would be willing to come twice a week, which would get us to even par if we had a full-time vet tech. That full-time vet tech could prep the animals, coordinate surgeries, provide some medicines, do different things underneath the umbrella of his authority to help him be more efficient. We're adding a second surgery table there. He feels that he can up his numbers to really take care of the number of animals that are coming in the shelter. So we would need that as well. Then additional kennel space. We worked with Aaron Babcock. We've been working with him for a while now on the police department to determine how much it would cost to add kennel space. So if we have additional kennel space, the less crunch we have, and we can retain animals for a little bit longer. We know that the shelter is not a permanent place for the animals to stay. But those numbers coming in, when we're bringing in the number of animals each week that we can actually house, makes it very hard for those emergency calls or things that come up. Makes it hard to take care of them, to be able to bring them into an environment that's safe for them, that's safe for the animals. So we've worked with Aaron to kind of get some ballpark figures, and I think we got our heads wrapped around that. And then finally, the outside agency contracts. Ultimately, if we want to keep providing this service for outside agencies, outside entities, other governing parties, it takes more. If we just do it for Sherman, we can do it with a little less. So I look at this ultimately as restructuring and reorganizing. It's taken us some time to get to this point. And I think if y'all remember back to the budget presentation, I told you about the monies that we had cut, because ultimately I wanted to get it to the most basic level that we could have. So I really have a clear picture of what we were dealing with. Because in no way would I come to the council to ask for something just because I thought it was a good thing to do. I needed to see and know that it was. So the other alternative is adopting a lower lot release rate. We think that doing these things will help allow us to get to a 90% lot release rate. And we could go with a lower lot release rate, but we needed this here to say this is where we're currently at, and then determine where do we want to be. Because there are costs associated with it. And we work with the city manager to try to kind of funnel some of the nuances of this, but again, I wanted to provide this to you so maybe we can get some direction and see which way we want to head with this project. That would allow Robbie and I to kind of make some decisions and work together to get this sorted out. A lot of information. Robbie, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, a couple of things. So first of all, when we asked Zach to take this over, it was because we had problems at the animal shelter. And as you can tell, Zach is a process guy. He's dug in and has really dug into the details and gotten back up, has come with a plan, has made the necessary changes to really get back to a point of just basic services and basic understanding of what we've done. Up until this year, up until he took it over, we had 9 full-time employees at the shelter. We now have 7. And so really what he's asking for is for us to get back to those 9 employee levels, albeit in different roles, right? The deck was shuffled a little bit, but he needed to do what he's been doing and his team has been doing, and I appreciate John and the work that you've been doing, Wes. And so what we're asking for, first of all, is consideration to add back 2 employees in the way that you just described that will help solve the problems for spay and neuter that we have if we want to keep that same live release rate. So in order to do that, it's the admin assistant and the vet tech. Secondly, as he alluded to, when he took over, he's because of paring down our operations, he's cut $150,000 out of the budget. So this would add back about 130, 126. Okay, so we would still be under the budget that we had last year, 2021 or 2020 budget. So, and then this issue of the outside agencies, that's more of on the revenue side and operations side. My understanding is, regardless of whether we take any animals from outside the city of Sherman, we would need to add these staff back that he's requesting. Okay, so that's just kind of bare bones, just to take care of city of Sherman today and evaluate it as we grow. This issue of this contract with outside agencies needs to come up again. We'll be looking at this contract that we need to get in place because it expires in a couple of weeks. But my opinion is we should be taking care of city of Sherman first. And those that aren't city of Sherman, if we are going to take care of that problem, they should be paying for it.
Absolutely.
Not the city of Sherman residents paying for it and subsidizing it. So
What we're asking tonight is there council appetite and direction to help kind of right-size where we are now going with the operations, both in terms of the 2 employees. There would be some incremental cost for the vet, but that's already baked into that $126,000 number. And then we will have another decision to make on the kennel space. We don't have, all we have is kind of one of these on the kennel. It's, and there are some issues out there besides just what's it going to cost to build another kennel building. There are some drainage issues, as I understand from Aaron, just at a high level. So if we're going to put another kennel building out there, we need to do some other work that will help out the entire facility. We don't have that. We don't have a good estimate. We can kind of guesstimate that, but I guess what I would ask of you tonight is if you have an appetite for that, allow us to go engage Aaron to do a more comprehensive, estimate on what this building would cost.
Go ahead.
I just would like to ask a question at some point.
Yeah, so that was teeing it up for,
Right.
kind of where we are.
So the last time that we added kennel space to our facility, do you know what year that was?
I mean, it's years. I mean, maybe
Okay, so,
decades.
we're gonna have to go through, as Sherman grows, we're in this growth mode right now. And we've taken a look at many of our facilities, like the police station, some of those other things citywide, as we grow. And, as these new neighborhoods come in, particularly Bel Air and some of the others, there's gonna be more need for these services. So, if we can negotiate better contracts, have a little more revenue coming in, we can build something much like we did at Congo Park, where we did in-house, the restroom and concession area. I'd like to see what kind of money we're talking about, but I wouldn't have any problem adding the two employees back.
Okay.
I got a few questions. So is it common, is it typical in other cities for the police department to be hands-on with is that?
It is, yeah. I would say you're at probably a coin toss, probably at least half of them.
Really? And dispatch answering the phone and those, that's alarming to me.
Yeah.
And
that's not good. We need to
and
get
our
away from
staff
that.
is being pulled away from their duties and on the police side to tend to the animal shelter. And then we talk about this $50 per animal, and then our costs. Is that even covering our costs?
No. So,
Then why
and that's the reason that I've structured it this way is because, admittedly, it has taken us a while to get our hands wrapped around this organization. And so what happened was, because of some circumstances at the shelter, my staff, we were determined there's got to be something that dictates how some of this goes between ourselves and other agencies. And then we came across the contract. When we came across the contract, it was not long ago. And so we kind of stumbled upon it late in the fiscal year. The only reason that we didn't come forward and ask for any substantial changes this year is because the county or any other agency really wouldn't have time to react to it, to be honest. And so it was very late in the fiscal year planning, and so that was why. Now, I did put in a 3% increase, and when I met with the county, I told them that is a gentle nudge to say that I would like to see something different. And so
this rate has been the rate that it's been. He didn't come up with the rate.
I understand that, but if we're making a change, then why don't we make a change to reflect a little more of what would cover some costs than signing another 1 or 2 year contract, knowing that we're going to be losing money on these. To me, it would make sense if it's going to be $100, then let's charge them $100. And then I have a question. So if an animal is picked up in Bells or Whitesboro, are we calling that county and they're bringing that to our, or just in the county?
So they're calling the county, and the county will go and pick it up and bring it to us. We will charge the county $50. The county turns around and charges that municipality $50.
So, you mentioned Denison, that Denison doesn't have a facility like ours. So, they're taking it, where did you say, to an adoption? A vet?
A vet. And so, that really ultimately what it boils down to is euthanasia rates. And that's the ugly truth that people don't want to talk about.
And well, Denison has a group of volunteers that come in and take care of it, and they raise their own funds.
So so DOG, their welfare group, they've got the opportunity to do those things. And to be honest, whenever it came up that, hey, if there's not substantial changes, then we're going to have to revert to the old business practices of looking at population management structures.
So, I don't want to be, maybe Josh is going to have a few comments. I don't want to be labeled as the anti-pet guy because I got 2 dogs at home and I got 2 barn cats.
Yeah.
But I'm a finance and number guy and some accountability here. And last time you were in front of us with the budget, we were doing great. We were going to lower the budget by $170,000.
Yeah.
But I said that it couldn't be done.
So now, we're wanting that money back, and we have all these problems, and we're gonna build a new facility, and you want us to give you a yay or nay to that, and I'm not prepared to do that.
No, and I don't say that we have to necessarily have that tonight. We have the budget calendar that we follow, and we had absolutely cut that money out. However, we had not completely figured out animal services. And so now, it's no mystery to us. We understand where we're at there. But it took us time to get there. And time within the constraints of the budget and the calendar year and the fiscal year. And so, absolutely, we had cut numbers in. And I may mention at the budget year that we may have to ask for more money.
I understand that. I just was surprised that we gave it back and now we're asking for it.
So,
within a few months of each.
Absolutely. I'll tell you flat out that it's been within the last month and a half that we've got it figured out.
So what is the overall budget? And I should know this. What's the overall budget for the animal shelter?
So we were shooting at just under about $850,000 for this next fiscal year. So we've been at almost $1 million the previous.
Really, I mean, this is kind of the string on the shirt that you pull thinking it's a small string and you pull it and the whole sleeve falls off. So, I mean, one of the things that was eye-opening most to me was I didn't realize until he started digging into this significant overcrowding problem that we have at the shelter in terms of just doubling and tripling and quadrupling out of the animals. And then we have to, from a policy and everything else decision, decide, well, how do we get these animals cared for? Because we can't fully adopt them out because they're not spayed and neutered. Can't spay and neuter them because we don't have the vets coming in, quickly enough. We're taking in twice as many animals as we're going out the door. So this problem is growing by 80 to 100 animals a month. So we're kind of at he's only been doing this for a few months, and it's like over that time, it's probably hundreds of animals that have accumulated without a final home because we haven't been, our policy hasn't been to euthanize, just to be honest, we haven't been euthanizing.
And that's the reality to it. At some point, a decision was made that we were going to be no kill. However, there were no updates or practices put in place to facilitate that.
Okay, Chief, I got it.
So that's the bottom line.
I got a couple of things. First, I think we can approach this in 2 parts. The first part is our dogs and cats, and the second part is everyone else's dogs and cats. So I'll start with the second part. I am not interested in subsidizing other governmental entities' costs for their dogs and their cats. And we've got a lot of data because we've had this contract for a long time. So let's figure out what it costs and then let's charge them that. I'm not interested in sending another contract agreement with them for a loser for 1 or 2 years. We'll charge them what we can charge them. Everything will stay the same until we figure that number out. In my mind. The second part is, if we need the staff, we need staff out there dedicated. We're a growing city. I get that everything else has to grow. I understand that, and I know you're getting everything ship shape over there, and this is just a part of that, and I get that too. But I think I'm in favor of adding staff. I'm not in favor of taking on another bad contract where we're subsidizing other people and taking care of their animals. And I do think we need to find some sort of an approach, whether it's no kill or whether it's a more reasonable and less costly method. And the people sitting up on this dais were elected to figure that out and make that decision. But I think we probably need a little more data and some numbers about what's what. But in the meantime, the one thing I am sure about is $50 a dog is a loser for us. And I'm not interested in doing it anymore.
So just to be clear, I've heard this now at least twice. And it's not this item, it's the next item. But would you guys rather run just on an expired contract kind of, or set a time limit on the contract if you were to redo it for a month or 2 months? Or what would you, I'm hearing clearly you don't want this contract for another year.
I just don't think we ought to renegotiate a contract for another, I think I saw there for another 1 to 2 years.
For a year, yeah.
For a year. And knowing full well that it's not even covering our costs.
Right.
And now we're wanting to add some more costs back. And yeah, to Josh's point, you guys can figure out what it costs for us to go pick up an animal, or if they bring us an animal, and what it costs that we ought to be charging them.
Yeah, and we've got
Here's what other communities do that do this. They say, our budget is this. It's pretty simple. Our budget is this. We take care of this many animals. It's this much per animal. The animals that we take in that are not ours are charged that per animal. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And in this case, it would be $150,000, $200,000, something like that. And we're charged at 30.
Is that something that we can put a pencil to and have something back for next council meeting?
I don't think that'd be too difficult. We probably already got it.
I was gonna say you have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we could in fact, if the council chooses to do so, we can let this contract ride until we get the new figures, and then we can have another look at it.
And Chief, I appreciate what you're doing down there.
No, we're
just, you've stood there before and I've had hard questions asked before. And I don't think you raised your hand and said, I want to go down and try to.
I have no problems running.
See that picture in the beginning?
But to me, I was down there running that.
Well, and
what's your efforts?
No, I appreciate that. And to Robbie's, I appreciate the confidence in city management that they look for us to take care of some of those issues. And, I'll just speak, there were several. And, that's kind of what we showed you tonight. It just took us a while to get our hands wrapped around it and get it figured out to a point that we could articulate it. If you would have asked me a long time ago, is there something going on? I'd say absolutely. But I wouldn't have been able to tell you what it is.
I think other entities should have built their own shelters, but $50 a day is such a great deal.
Absolutely.
And a loser for us and a winner for them, why would they?
Absolutely.
Okay, so.
All right, excuse me, all right. I am surprised we don't have a vet tech or someone like that on. I'm in favor of the 2 staff members. I just think, because your staff at the police department cannot continue doing double duty.
Right.
So I think that is the first thing we need to deal with. And I'm also in favor of us renegotiating this contract and looking at numbers that are closer to what it cost us, if not exactly. I do remember back as to when we became a no-kill shelter, and I thought Councilman Steele was probably on the council then. We were being bombarded daily with dozens of emails from individuals outside of Grayson County labeling us as a kill shelter.
If you remember, they were using a gas chamber. And
Yes.
that was the biggest problem.
So one of the
Yes.
issues that has come to light
We
is
want
how,
to get rid of that.
is how this business is conducted.
Yes.
And so, in hindsight, being what it is, and I can't speak for the previous, who operated the shelter.
Absolutely.
However, what we recognize is that when the population began to surpass what the kennels could withstand, that is when this should have been brought to your attention.
Absolutely.
That becomes, we are being cruel if you're
Right.
putting 3
And
and
so-
4 dogs in a kennel.
And so, and not to, I know that y'all understand this, we inherited this.
Mhm.
And so we recognize though that there's been nothing to facilitate that. And conversations that honestly probably should have been had a long time ago were veiled, right? And so we're just gonna come out and tell you like it is once we get it figured out. And we're gonna tell you what we think some solutions are and what the alternatives are.
Okay, so
Do we have more comment? I want to make sure at the end of this that we're clear on direction, so I'd like to
There's
get
no use in me saying anything. Y'all know I'm for anything that will help our animal shelter.
Okay, so
I'm hearing,
good on the 2 people.
I'm hearing yes on the personnel. Immediately, not next year,
Yeah.
immediately start negotiations on a new contract with outside entities. And then a pause or a what on the facility?
I'll tell you this, I think this may be able to help a little bit. If we're able to take care of, when we figure out what this contract's gonna be.
Yes.
We will know much better what our space needs to be.
Yes, absolutely.
So once we're able to look at that, I think we'll be able to speak more eloquent to that.
This is something we can engage the architect on fairly quickly to get some preliminary info back.
And we've worked to get some of that.
Okay.
And so, but I think that, again, with outside agencies being 25% of our population.
Yes.
Depending on where that goes, it's gonna help us be able to determine.
So I'm also, just to make sure as it relates to the contract, I feel this way and I'm hearing others feel this way, we should be at or pert near passing on the cost of non-Sherman animal care to those that are using it.
Correct.
So, okay, I just want to make sure he's got clear marching orders as he goes to.
And he's already spoken with the county, so.
They're aware, so.
They've got vaults of money over there.
Okay.
So, Ryan, do we need to table this item, or how do we need to respond to this, to G?
Well, this is a presentation item, the item that's next on the agenda.
Right.
The contract, you can table it or just take no action, and staff can bring it back, whichever you prefer.
Okay, so do we just want to take no action on G?
I agree. No action.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. for all the hard
Absolutely,
work.
I'll hang out for the next.
Hey, is Oscar still available?
I don't know, yeah.
Isn't he gorgeous?
He's
I gave you $50 why you can do that.
Always be blowing up, you know.
And I do like
So
Facebook
well-mannered.
things where you all show
Yeah.
pets.
Furry
Love that. I'm
Fridays.
hoping.
No, we're trying to take a holistic approach and really do what we can. So,
Thank you.
Also, they need lots of volunteers. just saying.
Yes, amen.
Thank you, Chief.
absolutely. I'll hang out here for
G2.
G2.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
More Chief.
Okay. All right, Linda, if you read G2, please.
Yeah.
Resolution 6769, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing Byrne Construction Services construction manager at risk for the Sherman Police Department headquarters facility to procure roof metal deck as specified on the drawings for Building A, not to exceed $300,000. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
All right, on something different. So Byrne Construction, Justice here from Byrne and Aaron Babcock, our architect, they came to us not too long ago and said, hey, in pricing out some of these materials, it's going to take a while to get the metal decking in for the roof, and asked us to see if we'd go ahead and allow them to procure that. They can speak more intelligently to it than I can, so I don't know if Justin or Aaron, you want to speak to that specifically.
Mr. Mayor, council members, so as Chief alluded to, when I was in front of you last time, we talked about strategies that we were trying to implement during the design phase to mitigate some of the construction delays that we're seeing here globally with procurement of different items. At that time, we made a switch from, if you remember, from steel joists to steel beams. What we're talking about tonight is another one of those strategies that we're trying to implement, and this deals with the metal decking. It's part of the structural systems, and we would consider it as a critical path item to keeping the schedule of the project. So what we're asking for and what we have done is soon after we met with you last, we learned that metal decking started to have a longer procurement time than what we had initially anticipated. So at the direction of Byrne, what we did is when we put all the drawings out for bid just recently, everything is actually out on the street right currently. What they did is they brought back the numbers for just the metal decking early. So they received those bids on Friday last week. And so we have that number. What we're asking from you tonight is to authorize Byrne to go ahead and place the order with the subcontractor that would be supplying that. What that enables us to do is basically gain the time from starting our clock this week versus starting our clock when we would bring the GMP to you in November. So all this lag time that we have currently as the drawings are out for bid and as they get vetted before we bring the GMP to you, we'd be able to make up that time. So once the construction clock started, the metal decking would then have the ability to be on site and the time frame that we needed, and there wouldn't be a lag time in the construction. Obviously, a lag time, as you can well imagine, ends up costing time and money. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Questions? Well, I will tell you, the bids did come in. We did get 5 bidders, and the low was $224,000. So that's what we're actually asking for. That $224,000 from that low bidder also was associated with a February delivery time frame, and that works within the project schedule that we currently are anticipating for the project. So we really need the metal decking and steel on site in the May time frame. So by having a February delivery date, that's what that works.
So guys, let me ask this now that we have that information, the 224, and put it out for bid, 5 responses, selecting the lowest one or selecting one that we believe is best able to get us the material, or what?
Right now it's the low qualified. We're still bidding out a little bit.
Okay.
The 2 low bidders for the next tomorrow. There's just the questions from getting the bids on Friday until now that weren't able to be completely answered. So we're currently set up not on the low bid, but there could be some.
Right, best qualified. The reason I'm asking is we've got another agenda item and 2 agenda items from now where we ran into a scenario of we had a quote, we had a commitment from a supplier, not on this project. And it was from a manufacturer of material pipe in this case. I want to make sure, to the extent possible, that we punch real hard at not just, it's not all about dollars and cents only. That should be a consideration, but it also should be a highest level of comfort we can get to make sure that whoever we're selecting is going to be able to deliver.
Absolutely.
And so so my question with all that is, do you feel confident in the one that you've selected, that they have a good reputation, you've worked with them before, you haven't had, significant delivery problems, all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just to speak to that a little bit, Robbie, is this bidder also has that delivery time in February, which is critical. So, they're tying this bid towards a February delivery date as well. So that's critical to this project.
Wait, say that again.
So the bid that they bid is also, when they bid it, part of what Byrne did is said, okay, we need the delivery time frame basically in the February, March.
Gotcha.
So they understand that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Okay, and are they the fabricators or are they buying this from somebody else?
They're fabricators and they're buying it from a mill. So it's basically a broker. We're not able.
Sure.
It's not typical for a general contractor or construction manager to go straight to the mill to buy material.
I got you.
David,
what do you think about all this?
Oh, I was just going to ask, did you structure the RFP to where it doesn't tie you down to a fabricator? I'm assuming the structural is not Is that out for bid right now?
Right, the full structural package is out for bid now, so whoever this gets awarded to, for just a steel deck purchase only, does not dictate who we select.
Okay, that was my question to you. It doesn't obligate you to a future purchase. Okay.
And it's been made clear and it was out there, not for the clear, yeah.
Move to accept 67.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, next item, award a bid to authorize execution of a contract with J&L Paving LLC based on invitation to bid for construction of the Setting Suns Phase 2 drainage. Wayne.
Yes, this is the second phase of drainage project in Setting Suns Estate neighborhood. Phase 1 was done 2-3 years ago in between Seminole and Park Avenue to alleviate some flooding issues. There wasn't enough money to continue south at that time. So this is a project we designed in-house. Tom Pruitt designed this. They designed the phase 1 as well. And we put this out to bid. We sent notices to 31 contractors. Tom called 3 of our local contractors who ultimately didn't bid on the job because apparently they're overloaded with work. So we ultimately had 2 bidders. Low bid was J&L Paving, who we worked with on a previous project, and their bid came in at $111,921. This will alleviate some flooding issues, especially with one property owner who I believe his house has been flooded a time or 2. He's got a detached garage that floods frequently.
I guess, excuse me, I guess it's 2 bids, you don't have a lot of, but maybe a little concerning that we're nearly 50% less than the other bid, but.
We are comfortable with the low bid and bidder.
And they furnish the bond, right?
Yes.
Well, Wayne wasn't going to say this because I asked him just to stick to it, but it helps you feel any better. The bid came in higher than we estimated.
Yes.
So we're pretty. That does make me feel better.
So you're saying that there's somebody that has flooding now?
Yes.
So with us doing this, are we saying that we know there's a problem and we're responsible?
This subdivision was annexed in '86.
Mm-hmm. But all the development that's going on around them, is that causing any more grief?
It shouldn't, because the developments to the north, they're required to detain the extra flow.
Okay. Good.
All right. Any other questions, Council?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 1, Northwest Sewer and Force Main Project, Investment Construction LLC, $132,744.04 increase. Wayne? What's about the change order?
Yes, sir. So this is a change order, Northwest Sewer Force Main Project, as Robbie was alluding to a little bit ago. This is a project where the contractor secured pricing from a pipe manufacturer back in May when they supplied the bid, and on July 28th, the contractor received notice that supplier was not going to be able to supply the pipe. Not that he couldn't supply it for the price given, but he couldn't supply it, period. The supplier is a large manufacturer, and they have a large factory in Texas, but with the freeze back in February, it affected them so much. They were hoping that everything would be fixed by now, but it isn't. And just in general, the PVC industry has been having issues with supplies and materials in manufacturing a pipe. Contractor did manage to find another pipe manufacturer that would supply the pipe, but it is a slightly higher price. We've got pricing.
Slightly higher.
I find it hard to believe that it's that much more expensive.
Yeah, that's fine.
from- Sorry.
Thousands and thousands of feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
it's tens of thousands of feet of pipe.
Okay, but more,
It's gonna be.
I mean, we got the first dollar amount for the cost of it, and it's gone up $132,744.04. I mean, I don't care that it's that linked, I'm just saying.
Well,
It was that
PVC
linked.
prices have been very volatile this past year. In fact, this particular bid we set up to try and time it to where it was awarded within a week because of bid opening, because PVC suppliers were not guaranteeing their prices for any more than a week. In some cases, some suppliers weren't guaranteeing them for more than a day.
And we approved it with them being guaranteed within 7 days. He made the call the next day.
Yes.
And
yes, we have,
He made the call, they issued a PO.
Right.
Saying we're gonna, and they called in July to verify delivery date. That's when they were notified.
Not gonna get it.
We're not gonna deliver it. Not, we're gonna deliver it later, not, we're gonna have to increase our price, but we're not making that pipe.
And they didn't contact them, they had to contact the company.
So it's somewhat of a force majeure scenario,
If
but
we were to try to, the other thing to think about is, even with this increase,
it's $200,000
it's still
less.
$200,000 less than the next bidder. The next bidder will not honor his price because that was 3 months ago. So they're gonna be coming back with PVC pipe increases as well.
We're in the same spot we were on Lambert. We're, gotta do it.
I believe that I'm going to.
Are you gonna make the motion?
No.
That's push.
I can't believe that I'm going to be in favor of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I see this every day, and people are building their homes, building their projects, and it's just a fact of life. And nobody, and we're fortunate that we have the money to cover that over, and we don't have to just shut down like some people have to do. And it's just the world we live in right now, and so, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second. First, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Receive semi-annual report on the Sherman Cultural District. Hey, Eddie, come on up.
All right, good news, Eddie. Only good news.
You finally made it.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our mayor and our council and our staff for your support of the cultural arts in Sherman, Texas, and for your belief in what this does for us. And before I introduce Heidi here, we're excited to have her and her energy in running the Cultural Arts Board this next year. I do want to share with you real quickly just a few points that the state of Texas recognizes for communities that have a cultural arts district, which we were fortunate to be just a couple of years ago here in Sherman. It attracts artists and cultural enterprises to your community. It encourages businesses and job development. Again, this is from the state of Texas Economic Development. Addresses specific needs of a community through art, and establishes tourism destinations, which is good for all of us, preserving and reusing historic buildings, enhancing property values, and then fostering local cultural development as well. So with that in mind, Heidi Rushing, our new board chair for the Cultural Arts Board, is going to present, from Austin College, is going to present our report. Heidi.
Thank you, Eddie. I want to start by thanking Eddie for his leadership over the last couple of years on the Cultural District. I've been on the board with him. It's been a pleasure to work with him, and I'm glad to be taking the helm. I also just have to say I sort of thought maybe I was at the wrong meeting for a while there. What we're talking about is a little bit different in tone, but I'm happy to be here and share some fun things that are happening in the Cultural District with you all. The first of which, I hope you've seen this already as you come into the district from the north on Travis Street, is our new welcome sign. which we got a grant from the Texas Commission on the Arts to help fund those signs. And it's bright and bold, and it's got this beautiful stained glass inset piece. So take a closer look at it next time you drive by. It's the symbol for the cultural district there, which was actually taken from the metalwork at Kid Key. So it's really tied closely into Sherman, and it's kind of a bold, fresh look, and we're really excited about that. The next thing we want to update you all on is a new event we had this summer called the Suretown Taco Tour. I know I saw some of you there, and if you missed it, I'm really sorry because it was super fun. But everyone who came really enjoyed it. It was a great little community event. We were able to raise some funds for a mural project, which I'll get to in just a second. But universal good feedback on that, and we look forward to doing that again in the future. It was a fun way to highlight some of the businesses in the district. We have more taco restaurants than just about anything else within the Sherman Cultural District. So it was really a pleasure to get to bring some of those together and share them with the community. And we did raise over $3,000 for a mural project, which we've applied for matching funds from the Texas Commission on the Arts. And we're optimistic that we will receive those, but we don't have final word on that yet. Nevertheless, we have begun preparation for that in earnest. It's a wall just outside here in the parking lot. If you look over the Flowers Electric building, it's been freshly power washed just today, and it's looking great. So Saturday of Arts Fest, Saturday the 18th of September, we're going to have artist David Freeman here, and he's designed this really cool 3-panel mural, and he's going to draw it on the wall ahead of time. And anybody who shows up to Arts Fest gets to come and paint part of the mural. So we're really excited. It's a way to get the community involved in the arts. They get to have a hand in creating the mural. We think they'll feel excited about it, a little ownership, maybe pay attention to some of the other public art we have in town. And we're really excited about that project coming up. And I'm sure we'll be cooking up lots of other fun stuff throughout the next year. And I look forward to updating you about it at the next time we present in the spring.
Awesome.
Thank you, Heidi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. All right, Council, we've got Keep Sherman Beautiful Commission, remove or appoint folks to review the qualifications to these boards and commissions. We have a motion on these individuals for Keep Sherman Beautiful.
I'll chalk up their name, but I'll try.
Okay.
I make a motion to reappoint Ronald Inglet, Rajadra Waggle as a reappointment, Cynthia Moore, and Raina Fornadinting. Thank you.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we are to media questions. No media questions today. Council, come on.
Well, I'm just happy to be alive.
Okay.
I just gotta tell you. You go through being sick and you appreciate life.
Well, I want to be, first, I'm sure many people up here who want to thank our city staff for all that they did last week.
Amen.
We have been through 2 crises in the last year, and I hope that that's the last one for many years to come. And I also want to really thank our citizens. You know, I did not receive one complaint. Yes, there were, well, I know y'all may have gotten.
We got them always that way.
I just got questions. Well, all right, well, you know, I said, told go to Josh and with those, but really, everybody was just, you know, it's smelling, it's stinking, it's, you know, and stuff, but how, you know, not really complaining, just saying, how soon will it be fixed? They knew we were working on it. And it just makes me very proud to live in the city and to also serve the citizens of Sherman with that, because they were never ugly to me when I talked to them or received emails from them, text messages, and many, 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 many Facebook messages. So thank you to the staff. It wasn't our fault, but we had to step up and get it taken care of. So thank you to all of you who were involved.
I ditto what Ms. Howard just talked about.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing else.
Comments, Mr. Mayor?
All right.
For the sake of brevity, I have no comment.
All right, just a few announcements. Join us this Saturday, September 11th, at the Grayson County Courthouse for the Remembrance ceremony marking the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Beginning at 8:30, we'll have a wonderful tribute to the fallen heroes from that day. I hope you'll be able to attend. Then at 4 p.m. on the 11th, Sherman will host the annual Hispanic Heritage Festival in Keene Park. The event will feature some fantastic food and music, as well as activities for the whole family. So come out between 4 and 9 p.m. We're just a few weeks away from the 40th annual Sherman Arts Fest on September 18th. We're expecting more than 120 vendors this year, along with live music and activities for the kiddos. Make plans to attend. On September 25th and 26th, the Sherman Celtic Festival will be moving to Pecan Grove Park. It will be fun for the whole family, including Highland games, bagpipe competition, live music on 2 stages of Viking Village, and much more. So the City Council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act in Section 551.071 to receive legal advice regarding wastewater treatment agreement, November 2nd, 2009, and Section 551.074 to deliberate on the annual performance evaluation of the city manager and to appoint representative for the Texoma Community Center, and Section 551.087 to receive an update on the Sherman Hospital project. So at 6:31, we'll go to executive session.
Shortest meeting in weeks.